hour. Thank you for joining us. Wherever you are in the world, may God bless you. May God cause his face to shine upon you. May he be gracious and merciful unto you. Where others say there is a casting down, you should say there's a lifting up. You're blessed and you're going out and you're coming in the mighty name of Jesus. Today we have a very special guest who has made some really brilliant translation. It's called Pleasant in Lagos State, Nigeria. I'll start by making a disclaimer that accusations, allegations, and exposures in this interview is not connected to Greater Christian Assembly, Revelation Hour, or Evangelist Jennifer Light, but solely by our guest. So thank you for joining us. Could you please introduce yourself?
Thank you very much. My name is Bisola Hephzi-bah Johnson. I am a writer. I'm a counselor. I'm a web developer. I am also a preacher of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ delivered me when I lived in the synagogue. And since then, I've been talking about my experiences in order to use it to help people. This is not about individual. And for me to drive it home, I've written a book called Deception of the Age Unmasked, because where I lived, possibly as we go on, we'll continue to unravel it. We pray that God will bring light into what we are talking about. We pray that those who are in bondage will be set free. We pray that at the end of the day, we will not be partaker of unrighteousness in Jesus' name.
Amen and amen. Can you please tell us how you got into the Synagogue Church of All Nations?
I will just quickly brief it because of time. I don't know if you have that time. I had problem when I was living somewhere in Kano. My company from Lagos transferred me to Kano, and while I was there, I had fire outbreak. And because I lost everything, after I recuperated at the hospital, I came back to Lagos among my family and friends. So it was while I was in Lagos, we were introduced to the synagogue, and we went there. On that day, we went early and we saw a lot of things they showed us on TV. And when we got there, I believe because of, what I saw on TV. So in the evening of that day, while we were there, it was evening service, because they asked us that to stay behind, that we must witness every service for like a week before we can start talking about meeting the pastor. Well, we relaxed. And because we were looking for quick miracle as Africans who haven't gotten relationship with God, so we waited, and in the evening of that day, while the service of the evening started, somebody came to start the prayer. But along the time, another person came to continue the prayer. So why, out of curiosity, I opened one eye to see who was the next speaker. I just discovered that somebody was standing right in front of me, staring at me. So looking at him directly reminded me of somebody that I know who looked exactly like him. After like few seconds, he left, and but I was still with myself, trying to figure where I had known him or who I know that looked so much like him. And while I was doing that, I remember a dream I had 2 weeks earlier. In that dream, I was in my granny home, And while I was moving out, I saw this man standing outside looking for somebody. He had this office folder, and a name was written at the back. So I looked at the name. I don't know. I asked him to go further into the neighborhood. Maybe he will get who he was looking for. But while I was returning the folder to him, the folder fell, and a lot of sheets of papers, came out.
That was in a dream. All this happened in a dream.
Yeah, in the
dream. Before you went to the synagogue church of all nations.
Before I went to the synagogue.
Okay.
It was while I was in the synagogue, I was remembering all this, because I saw a face that I have seen somewhere before. So that face was in my dream. So then I was taken aback. I asked him, where did you get all these papers? They belongs to me, but they are in different person's file. So he couldn't give me any explanation. Anyway, I packed the file and returned to him. So after returning to him, I left him where he was standing because I was done with him. I told him to go into the neighborhood to look for the person he was looking for. So I started moving away. So I walked some distance. I looked back. He was still standing right in front of my parents' house, my granny house, until somebody woke me into real life that while I was sweating under the, cooling system. So, seeing the person again in real life made me to think that possibly God sent him to me.
Okay.
For him to have found me into my granny home, and, and some of my personal things, like those papers were with him. I said, maybe God sent him to me. So I thought maybe after the service, I'll wait behind. But to my amazement, after the service, somebody came to me and gave me paper to wait to see him, that he wanted to,
So
after.
in other words, he singled you out.
Not only me, there are other people, but I was invited.
Okay. So, and how did you find yourself living inside a synagogue? Because the first time you went there, you went as a miracle seeker, a church goer. You attended the service. So how come you began to live in the synagogue church of all nations?
Okay, fine. As a miracle seeker, because after the fire incident, as an African, I want to know what is going on because I lost a lot of things. So it's like, falling backward. So, how do I move on again? So I thought maybe I needed spiritual help. That was what I thought at that time. So after seeing him, it took like 3 days before we could see him. And, he asked that brother that coordinated me, Ore, to usher me into his office. It was around 12 midnight, after 12 midnight. So when I saw him, the first question he asked me was that, have you ever seen me in your dream before? Even before I could even answer, he has written something like Arabic. And it's in my book. I had a similar scribbling. So he wrote it and he said, put it under your pillow anytime you sleep. Within 3 days, you get my message and come back and tell me. So I went home, and all I do at that time was to eat and sleep because the meeting's supposed to be in my sleep, in my dream. So
he told you, in other words, he told you he was going to meet you again in your dream.
Yes. He said I will get his message, not that he will meet me, that I will get his message. But I should put that thing under my pillow.
Okay.
So, and I did. Somebody was even joking among my friends, why do you sleep so much? You're always on bed. I said, I'm expecting visitors, jokingly. And on the third day, I had a dream of a snake wanted to bite me in my room. So I shouted, I screamed. The moment I screamed, I saw that guy called TB Joshua. He floated into the room from nowhere, possibly from the window or something, but he floated into the room and asked me, why was I shouting? I said, there was a snake in the room. He said, where is that snake? I said, you should look around. So he bent under the bed and brought out something that looks like a worm, a tiny worm.
Okay.
So he now showed it to me and said, it cannot hurt you. So immediately I woke up, I thought it was a good dream. Even now, I ask myself, when I shouted, why is it that it was him that came into my room? But the answer is in what he has given me. He has given me a connection to him. At that time, he has started manipulating me spiritually.
Okay.
Yes. So whatever I do, I've been under his radar.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was why, then I went back to synagogue. I thought it was a good outcome. So I met him in his office and I told him what happened. So himself was happy. He said, he asked me what I could say about him. So, I said what I could say, of course, because at that time I've not known Jesus Christ. And it was later that I read in the Bible, in the book of Mark, that Jesus was asking his disciples what they could say about him. So it's like this individual called TB Joshua is trying to duplicate the life of Jesus Christ in the life of other people. So then he asked me what I wanted to do. I said, I would like to go back to Kano, continue what I'm doing since I've been delivered, and also to get married. So he asked me, is that all you want to do in life? So I said, yeah. So he said I should go and wait for him outside. I waited like an hour because he was a busy person. So after some time, I was ushered back into his office. He asked me the same thing he had asked me earlier, and I gave him the same answer. So unsolicited for, he gave me 3,000 naira. That's okay, and he gave me calendar synagogue, he gave me the sticker of synagogue, he gave me his pictures, his personal picture, and he gave me his telephone number. People in the synagogue believe that with synagogue calendar, they are covered from evil and all that. So I took it home, and because my former company was the director was also the owners of an airline called Okada Line. So I usually don't pay if I'm traveling. So I jumped and I go. It was right inside the plane. Why I put my head on the headrest of the plane, that I had my name called loud and clear by the voice of TB Joshua.
And by this time, you already had his pictures with you, his church calendar, and other merchandise from his church.
I had it. I had it with me because I was going back home. So I looked back, but I didn't see anybody. So even then, I thought it was a good development. Somebody was watching over me. You understand?
Yeah.
So you know how unbelievers think. That is why we are saying this, that wake up from your slumber. The Bible said, they that know God shall be strong, not they that know pastor, not they that know prophets. So when I got to Kano, I hung the calendar and put all those elements in my house. Unfortunately, I didn't know that I have been initiated. So then, I started minding my business, but I got worried that even anytime I sleep, It's synagogue, I find myself back.
Mm.
You know, I mean, it's like, even I was not, I became restless. I became dissatisfied with life. So things were getting worse, not, getting better.
Yeah.
At that time, there was no, mobile phone, in Nigeria. So,
Yes.
but he gave me a number that I usually go to NITEL office to try the number, but we don't usually get through. So what I did after a month was to come back to Lagos to ask, is there anything I have not done right so that I can move on in life? He said my experiences, what I was experiencing was because God had already told him that he want to use me in the synagogue.
Okay.
That he want to use me in the synagogue. And that that was the reason he asked me questions when I was going home. So what should I do? There's no moving forward if I refuse to walk in the synagogue. And since he said it's God
Yes.
who told him, I didn't have relationship with God for me to know if it's true
Okay.
or not. The dream I had seeing him in my house, the dream I had, him telling me snake couldn't hurt me again, all beclouded my sense of reasoning. And I thought maybe it could be a man representing God. That
Yes.
was how I trusted him. And not only that, he also said my parents are the ones behind my problem.
Oh.
So I should just stay away from them if I want to forge ahead in life. And that was how I told my parents off, don't come and look for me again. You are not, you are not helping me in life upon all I've done for you. So then I stayed put in the synagogue.
Okay. And in your video available on YouTube and stated in your book as well, you've alleged that you were sexually abused by the man in the synagogue. Could you please throw more light on that?
Okay. So as I stayed put in the synagogue, he said I should go to the studio. I was posted to the studio. And because I at that time I didn't look like other disciples that I met there. I was coming from outside. I was still full of life and all that. So he believed that, okay, I can be in the position of leadership. So he sent me to the studio in order to, to represent him. Studio is his heart. That is where he keeps all his trophies, videos and all that. That is where he kept them. So, and when I got to the studio, because I was coming from a banking institution, I advised him that, sir, why don't you keep the master tapes in the bank? It's not only money they put in the bank, but they put, jewelries, things that are, very important, so that if theft or fire accident or so, you will not lose everything. And it's like, wow, no one has ever advised him that way. He called somebody who worked in the first bank to, to quickly do that. So while I was there, within 2 weeks, I only saw him like 2 times. So, these are the times I will go to his office, good morning, because disciples usually his disciples, his followers that are living with him, they are called disciples. They normally
Yes.
go to see him and say good morning. So one day we were in the studio, it was a Tuesday service. At that time, they normally have Tuesday service, Wednesday service, Thursday service, Friday service. So, and Sunday service. So on that Tuesday, we were preparing to go to the service. You know, when somebody came, Akin was that guy's name. That is one of the people that works in his office and room. So they called me. They said he wanted to see me. So I followed him. But I saw that I was not ushered into the office that I knew. I was taken somewhere else, you know, very close to the office. So when I stood outside, the boy entered and later came out and said, okay, I'm free to go in. So when I enter, he was standing. So he said, he now, you know, stretched his hand as if to hug me. So he said, oh, how you doing? Hope you are coping well. Sorry, we are not eating meat and fish here for spiritual reasons. So in case maybe the food they are giving you is not enough, he brought out 500 naira and gave me. So that is also what I want to tell people. You must be careful what to collect from people, because what these evil people usually use to initiate people is money, sex, and so be careful. We have a lot of those experiences, you know, examples in the Bible. Anyway, then afterwards, he now said, you know, I should go. I hope I'm coping well, that I should trust him, that he will be my father. You know, anything I need, I should come to him. If anybody misbehave in the studio, since I'm the leader there, I should come and, you know, report them. I can come to his room or his office anytime he's open. So he just, you know, give me kind of assurance. I said, okay, and I trusted him. Then I went back to the studio. After like 10 or 15 minutes, I was called out again. You know, at that time I was, you know, enjoying it. Wow, you know, this big, you know, pastor and all that. Okay.
Enjoying the attention
they call me this
was given to you.
Exactly. I was enjoying the attention. Oh, we're not. So then the second time I was called into the studio, I mean, out of the studio to him. So, you know, I thought, I looked around, it looks like other people were just looking at me. It's like maybe envy or something, you understand? So I quickly went, oh, they are calling her. So when I got there the second time, there was no light in his room. You know, being a Nigerian, anything can happen. I thought maybe before in the time, in the space of the time I left studio to his room, maybe NEPA has taken light. Yeah. So, but in that room there was a candle light there, and so I stood at the door. He asked me to come in. So, but I stood at the door because I saw him sitting down he cladded with white towel. So I thought maybe he was preparing for service, maybe trying to go to the shower or coming out. So he said I should come in. But after I got used to that environment of that darkness, I saw that the towel he cladded on was shifted, and his nakedness was, you know, was open. So I didn't want to embarrass him. I thought maybe it was a mistake. So I knelt down and face down. So he said, I should come, I should come, I should come. I still knelt where I was. Then I thought maybe it was a mistake. I didn't want to embarrass him. So he now stretched and dragged my hand and put it on his naked manhood.
Oh.
And he was using my hand to rub, and he was saying the same thing he has said before, that don't worry, don't be afraid of me. You know, I just want to bring you closer to me so that you not be afraid, so that you can do what you are doing. And I stiffened, you know, I was between shock and, because I just thought it wasn't that I was a saint at that time, but I thought that place was an holy ground. And I also felt empathy for the sick people that are coming to meet him. That
Yeah.
if this eventually happened, it means that, that was my own thinking, that his
Yeah.
power will leave him. That because God will not be happy. You can't, we can't continue in sin and we want grace to abound.
Yeah.
So I persisted. He now said, okay, I should go. So after I left his room, at his door, by his door outside, I
You
saw
mean
lots
all
of
this?
girls.
You mean all this happened between yourself and Prophet TB Joshua of the
Yes,
synagogue church of Coercion?
we are talking about TB Joshua.
Okay.
Yeah, at that time, I've already moved into the synagogue.
Okay.
So while I left his room, I saw some girls outside. So I just quickly left. I went to the studio. Then we went to the service. All through the service, my mind was just playing, playing the scenario back in my mind. That why? What is this? What did I give him? A kind of occasion for him to feel that way towards me? Did I seduce him? In what way? I don't know. I was just trying to clarify my mind. Then after the service, after everybody had showered, he called me into his office, into his room. Sorry, into his room again. He said they should go and call me, and they called me. And immediately I entered, he was naked.
Oh.
And he just, yes, and he just grabbed me,
You mean senior Prophet TB Joshua was naked immediately you got into his office the second time?
The moment I got into TB Joshua's room after service of that day,
Okay.
he was just naked. He said, no, I should not worry that there's nothing, I have grace. Thank you. Those are his words. He said, you have grace to do anything, no problem. That I have grace to come nearer to him and anything. So he said, I should put my mouth in his organ, in his manhood. So I did that and I left. And as time goes on in the synagogue, I got to know that this is a norm. Before TB Joshua go into the service, he must have sex with a girl. Oh. It's like using the girl as a step up or whatever it is. And immediately after the service, he must also call a girl. I have been in the same room with TB Joshua and with other girls. I've been in the same room with him and Taiwo and Kainde. These people are siblings. Okay. With Kemi, with Elizabeth and Rose. Rose and Elizabeth, they are siblings. So for TB Joshua, sex is not a kind of thing he enjoys. I believe he's using those sex as ritual sex. Okay. He usually have sex with as young as 8 years old, 11 years old, 14 years old, which I have witnessed. And some of these people got pregnant, and Mrs. Igodu, there is a woman called Mrs. Igodu, and Mama Junior, they usually take these girls, and another girl called Yinka, they usually take these girls for abortion. I have no reason to lie on this man. I'm just telling my story, and I believe that one day we will all come before the judgment seat of Jesus Christ to give account to every word we have said in the body.
Okay. Thank you so much for all you've revealed as of now. Fornication and adultery is one thing, a sin against God, and rape is another thing. Was the sexual intercourse between you and Prophet TB Joshua coerced? Were you forced, or was it consensual?
Okay. Thank you very much. It was against my will. I didn't go for it. Okay. I've already, sent my family away. It was like I was in a dilemma. Where will I go from here? So it's like I was trapped.
Okay. That's
it wasn't from my will. I was coerced, and I was, I was compelled. Okay. I was also afraid for my life because I believe that you know, is high spiritually. So it's like, for me, maybe from fire pan to fire, and the dreams I have had in the past was still playing on my mind that, okay, it will beg for, you know, I mean, it's all and all. It was, you know, and that was what I thought, not knowing that just a common criminal.
All right. Um, we always watch TV Joshua on the TV. He has a very high media presence. Him giving out aid, giving out shelter, helping the less privileged. He seems to be a very generous man. Was Prophet TV Joshua generous to you while you were at the Synagogue Church of All Nations?
Okay, on that, see, if we start it, we will not finish it. That is why it
Was
took
he
me.
generous to you? Like, did you get monetary gain, monetary benefit from Prophet TV Joshua during your stay at the Synagogue Church of All Nations? Did you receive money regularly or at a time or a lump sum from Prophet TV Joshua?
It wasn't like that at the beginning. You understand? It wasn't like that at the beginning, because at the beginning it was not as, you know, as it is today. I would not use the word big, because it's only before God know who is big or who is small. But it wasn't like this at that time. So we all struggled together with him. You understand? We contributed unknowingly to the growth. You know, for many years, I was video editor without receiving salaries. I was a voiceover artist. All the videos that come out of the synagogue, I was the one that they used my voice to voice it. So as time goes on, when things becoming okay, people were being given, you know, new wardrobe, because that is where we live. We're giving money, we travel around the whole world. But if I want to remain in the synagogue, my sister, I will still remain today. If it's because of the money, because of the lamp spotlight, because of the traveling up and down, but it comes to a point in my life that I saw the deception so much. If it is fornication and adultery, is a different thing. But I saw that I was living in a place where occultism has taken root and foundation. And I thought I don't want to go to hellfire. And I stepped out of that place.
Okay.
So
before you got into the synagogue church, did you have a career? Did you have something doing? Did you have a thriving career?
yes, I've said that before. I was working with Crown Merchant Bank.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I left, you know, they transferred me to Kano from Lagos. So then later I joined their subsidiary in Kano for IBW Brother Change. So it's the same thing, the same, you know. They also have a bottling company. They have airline. So I'm talking about in the early 90s.
Okay.
So I had career, and I also had business I was doing. Yes, I also had business.
In our preliminary interview, you mentioned something about ownership of bank accounts, if you were allowed or not allowed to own a bank account, about the followers being abused, being beaten with horsewhip. Can you throw more light on that?
Yes, when I was in the synagogue, there are people that can bear witness. I will give you, some of them cannot, I don't know, it's a choice. But me, I want to help humanity. You understand? So some, they don't want to come on you know, they don't want to come on TV, because while we were in the synagogue, we were abused. We were abused psychologically. We were terrorized spiritually. We were, you know, abused emotionally, you know, sexually. So this entity called TB Joshua, he wants everybody to be under him. So any little mistake you have committed, you will be beaten by horsewhip. You know, yeah. And also, if it's some other, maybe other rebellion, maybe you did something that he said they should not do, or maybe you do something and it feels that, you know, someone shouldn't have done that, they will ask you to go for confession. Let me say this. That guy called TB Joshua is always afraid because we have seen him all. So he is always afraid of being tell on him. So because as a evil genius, he put things unknowing to us. He has told people that I'm your father. Even there was one day that he gathered us and he said everybody must receive Cain. Then he made that declaration that day that if you believe that he is not authority over you, just walk out of this place. Two people left, Mrs. Adebayo and Lola Falarubo. But later, after later, you know, they begged. So he put us under this, you know, under this web that whatever he says, you know, we have to do. And he made us to understand that God was not aware that we are living because of what our parents had done. That he is the one that wants to reconcile us back to God. So whatever, I'm telling you gospel truth. So whatever he says, that is what we became dummy, we became zombies.
Okay.
So he asked people, we ask people to go for confession, you know, whatever you are not, you just say it. Just for you to be, you know, to be called back into the fold.
Okay.
And continue your work.
There's a video made available online by the Synagogue Church of All Nations where you can be seen making a confession, apologizing to the Prophet TB Joshua and the Synagogue Church of All Nations at large, talking about you having a migraine, making you misbehave, and that you shouldn't be taken seriously. When was that video made? And can you throw more light on that, please?
This video was made years back when I was in the synagogue.
Okay.
There was one time I left synagogue because I got fed up. You understand? Yeah. There are some people in the synagogue, they were brought there by their parents, even when they were younger. Then, but me, I didn't go there, you know, at 11. I went there in my 20s. So, and when I got there, you know, things were going. But it got to a point, I want to go home. I wanted to go home. I wanted to continue my career. Then it happened that I was in charge of studio. I was also in charge of visitor. I was coordinating visitors.
Okay.
So when one of the visitors called Pastor Labat Cockney, he brought he brought some visitors to the synagogue, and that time, since TB Joshua said is the one who is is the one that is a healer, so many people bring their sick people down to the synagogue, but he doesn't want sick people like crippled people or totally blinded people. So this man, Pastor Neil Labaskakne from South Africa, bought some sick people. And because I was the one, you know, coordinating in charge, he was not happy with me. He thought maybe they told me that they were bringing such and such sick people, that I invited them. I was the one that will write invitation letter for those people coming from different countries. So that day, as he invited me into the office, he slapped me in the way he normally beat us. So I was not happy, and I said, I want to go. I said, I want to go home. I've had enough of it. So what TB Joshua did was that, you want to go home? You are telling me you want to go home? So he said, okay. He used his finger and wrote and just mark the floor. He said, if I have 2 heads, I should pass that mark. Because I was not happy. You know, I didn't even know, you know, if anything is on the floor or not. Me, I just walked past. So as I walked past, I went outside. I was just walking around Lagos as if I was under trance. As if I was under trance. I didn't know where I was going or where I was heading to. I did that for days before I returned back to synagogue. Oh. So when I came back to the synagogue, yeah, he said they should allow me to come in, but I should go for confession. That I was stubborn, that when instructed, I don't follow instruction. Because I didn't have where to go to. I didn't know my way around. So I said, okay. And at that time, I've lived like 7 years in that place. So I gave my confession, and he said I should go back to work. I didn't know they were filing it. Other ones, it's when you have issues within the quarters. It could be that you and somebody, you had fight. Where a lot of people are living, definitely there will be fight, there will be offense. So if he judge and he judge wrong, and in your disposition, he saw that you did not like his judgment, you have become his enemy. They will not, you will be stopped from giving food allowance, and they will ask you to, you know, to off your duties. So if you want to go back to the duties, he say, oh yeah, go and give confession. So you have to go and give confession, say whatever that he loves to hear. And these are the things he's bringing out. But see, sis, I don't have problem with all those things. Even if he likes, he should go and bring more videos. But my story is my story. And my story is to tell people. Okay, take for instance, I trusted you, that is why I confessed to you, right? As the Bible says, confess to one another. So now, you now go out and be giving my confession. That means you are not trusted. So anybody, I'm warning them, be careful who you confess to. And they said also something that I'm not stable. They said I'm not stable.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
I am mentally unstable.
Okay, fine, good. TB Joshua, according to him, is a healer, right?
Yeah.
How could unstable person come to you and I stay with you 14 years, not 1 month, not 1 week?
You lived with people for 14 years.
14 years of my life. And I lived with you, the healer, and you could not heal my unstableness. So who is deceiving who?
All right, okay. Your story has basically gone viral. So many people have read your books and seen your video. There's a question that everyone keeps asking. What is the motive? Why is she speaking out now? Have anybody, any organization, individual, or clergyman offered you money to speak against TB Joshua or the Synagogue Church of All Nations? Have you been offered money by anyone, any organization?
Thank you very much. This morning, we are doing interview. I've already spent some money buying data, doing this, you know, fueling my generator, because the climate we are in, light is not stable. I'm spending money. I'm not collecting money. And moreover, this is not my first time coming out. Go into YouTube. You will see how I have come out for the past 11 years. I have been on this. And let me tell you the take on it. I fell into a ditch and God helped me out. My responsibility is to tell people, please don't pass through that way. I'm not expecting money from anybody. Jesus is my rewarder.
My preliminary interview with you, you made mention of a particular clergyman assisting you with some money or something. Not to speak against the man of God, T.B. Joshua, but for some assistance. Did you ever get any?
I don't think I want to mention that. I don't want to drag anybody into that.
Understand. Yeah, I understand. I understand that. During your time at the Synagogue Church of All Nations and all your encounter and him having unhealthy relationship with minors and his followers, was his wife aware of this? Because I know he's happily married. Was his wife aware of the things that happens at the synagogue?
See, I pity some people. If only what they see on TV is what they go by. If only it's the bling bling and what people dramatize on TV that people go by. What is happening in the synagogue, the real thing is not what you see on TV. You know, T.B. Joshua loves camera and he loves, what do they call it? He loves photographs.
Yeah.
Because he wants to show what he's doing. Maybe you should ask him to produce his marriage videos and photographs. Because Evelyn told me, his wife told me, that she only went there for consultation, just the same way people had problem. People have problem and they go there for help. And that was how he started sleeping with her. And they started, she had pregnancy. He wanted her to abort, but she said no. And after some time, it became, okay, my wife. But I'm not, against their, personal arrangements. It's just part of the things I'm just saying. That this individual called T.B. Joshua is a deceiving, is a deceit. Yes, I will use that word, is a deceit. Full of deception. Is not to be trusted.
But as per unhealthy relationship T.B. Joshua is having with his female followers, his female disciples, or let's say some of his female disciples, do you think his wife may be aware and just try to look other way? Or
thank you. In my book, a lot of things, there are a lot of things there. Can you
please show us the book? Can you please show so the viewers can see your book? Okay. Okay.
So right. It is said, the T.B. Joshua I know.
Yes.
Many people, they know the T.B. Joshua for different things, based on what they have seen on TV. But I'm telling you, those things are photo tricks. This is the one I lived with for 14 years. This is the one I know. Deception of the age or masked.
Thank you so much. And how can we get access to your book?
And not only that, you said you asked me questions about the wife.
Yes.
The wife know what is happening. And I've written all that in the book. Me and the wife, we usually have talk. I told you she was the one that told me how she met TB Joshua in Najishegiri and got her pregnant. One day, something happened. There were these 3 girls that were living in the synagogue with us at that time. Their father died, so they were taken into the synagogue for this man to be father to them. And this man sexually abused the 3 of them, not fearing God. 3 blood sisters. So when that happened, there was one among them, very, very intelligent. She also worked with me in the studio. The girl become disgruntled and heady. I don't know her personal problem. It could be psychological, because at that tender age, for you to be abused by somebody who was a father figure.
Yeah.
So TB Joshua, because he normally feel threatening by somebody that is stubborn. That was my problem with him. I mean, his problem with me. I'm hardworking and I'm very intelligent, but I have mind of my own. So this girl became stubborn. Do you know what they did? They set this girl up inside the synagogue. And when they set her up, they said they caught her with a man. So they sent her home. The mother brought the girl back to the synagogue. TB Joshua said the girl should go and give confession. He want to trap her. But because the girl know better, the girl said she was not going to give confession. So then the mother of the girl was not happy with her. He started beating her. So the girl opened up and said, which confession do you want me to make? Is it the one that I didn't do, or the one that TB Joshua usually do with me and my sisters? The mother couldn't believe it. So they now came to synagogue to ask. So TB Joshua became apprehensive. So at the end of the day, the mother withdrew the 3 children, and TB Joshua was sued to court.
Really?
Yeah. The
So
case
are you
is
trying
in.
to say you're not the first person accusing
No,
TB Joshua
I'm not. So when the case came up, TB Joshua spent money in order for them to send the case out of court, but they persisted. It's in Lagos High Court, Court 2. You know, they have money. They can be going around to expunge files. Yeah. Anyway, it's government property. So when this was going on, the wife came to me and said, Sister BC, all these things that is happening, are you not aware? I said, I was not aware, because I couldn't have told her I was aware. So she told me that one day she wanted to collect money for her child, Promise. So she went to TB Joshua's room at around 1 a.m. She told me that she met Olamide Big, sitting on TB Joshua's lap. So I said, no, it cannot be what you saw. You know, I was trying to, calm her down as a wife, So she said, no, it's not like that. Maybe you are just trying to lie to me. That even what happened to Abiola 3 girls, that some members in the synagogue, members of the synagogue has already called her and they have told her. So I tell you, this woman knows what is going on. She knows. And she said she has gone to meet TB Joshua. And she told TB Joshua that if anything happened, as a wife, I will support you, but God will punish you for ridiculing me. I asked her, I said, what did he said? He said he put head on the table and was crying. Inside me, as I believe TB Joshua would not cry because he has no soul. So the wife know what is going on, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for your time. And I'm going to ask you a question. Rather, I don't know if to you, it will be what people have been asking. Like, how do you believe that what all your allegations against Prophet TB Joshua are not lies, or that of a scorned woman being jilted by a lover, or about someone who is mentally unstable, as they've said at the synagogue church? So how do you believe that all the allegations are true? Are there any other persons who have experienced the same thing with you? Are there any other ex-followers of TB Joshua who are sharing their story? Also, if there are people, you can just let us know.
As I said in this book, if you read this book and you come out to tell me I am unstable, I will agree with you. Because this book, it cannot be written by an unstable mind.
Okay. Thank you very much. May God
In
bless
this
you.
book, there are other people's experiences. The
Okay.
names written in this book are real names so that it can be verified. If you, as you are sitting down there, please, I want you just Google TB Joshua took my wife. It's another person who is telling the story. Google Bayo Ajede, that name is not Bisola Johnson. Google Paul Agomo, that name is not. And let me tell you, more people are coming. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
What many of them are fearing is what TB Joshua is playing out, all the confession, because we were really terrorized. People are afraid that you will bring something. And some people, because maybe because of their career, because of their family, because of, everybody with their, I respect that. I spoke with a lady in South Africa. Her name is Suzel. Remember I told you, before TB Joshua entered into service, he must have sex with a girl.
Yeah, you said so.
Suzanne's father is a very rich farmer in Cape Town, Mr. Enikin. So TB Joshua usually use some of his visitors as a paveway into their countries. You understand?
Yeah.
So he talked to, he compelled Suzel to tell his father to open a kind of branch for synagogue in Cape Town, which they did because Suzel's father loved her so much. I believe the man had only 2 children. So when they had to open the branch office in Cape Town, TB Joshua was invited. So the day they're supposed to have the service, because Susan's father is rich, they didn't book TB Joshua in an hotel. He was living in, they gave him a kind of chalet in their farm. So on that day, they're supposed to go to service. TB Joshua was busy raping Suzel in her father's house. Please, you are a journalist. Can you maybe, there's a way you can do it. Check on Cape Town. Check on Cape Town police. He has been reported in Cape Town. He can never enter Cape Town or else they pick him up.
Oh.
Yes. So the last time I spoke with Suzel was saying that, because of she's married and children. I'm also married, but, I separate my marriage from, helping humanity. Is a voice to the voiceless. There are some people trapped inside synagogue now. For you to live somewhere 20 years and you are going 40 and over 40, you are not allowed to marry. Can't you ask what is going on in the synagogue? disciples are not allowed to marry. All those girls singing on the pulpits, there's one among them, and very black like this. She has no womb today due to incessant abortions. It can be verified. Ask one question: why are your girls not marrying?
Wow, this is very interesting. Thank you so much for your time today and for the truth you've revealed to us today. May God bless you, and we wish to have another episode like this with you. Thank you so much for having us.
The book?
Yes, we're going to put the book, the link to get the book below this video. So anyone who is interested to learn more, you turn it upside down. I think you should turn it.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
And because of this interview, I'm going to give 50 people my PDF free of charge.
Oh, that's very good. Thank you so much.
So you can announce that on what do you call it, on your page.
Yeah.
Tell them that they should use a coupon. My website is evangelistb.com/shop.
Okay.
evangelistb.com/shop. So 50 people, and they should use a coupon, love 4500.
Love 450. Love 4500 for a free copy of your book. Thank
yes,
you.
I will send you some a kind of instruction, how they will go about it.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for having us today.
It's not about money. It's about passing the information further so that your future, my past will not become your future.
Yes.
Be careful who you trust. Be careful where you go. That is my story. It's not about anybody. It's not about TB Joshua but definitely there's no how I tell my story that TB Joshua will not, fall into it, because I lived with him for 14 years.
Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.